If you have ever caught yourself thinking, there has got to be a better way to do this, spoiler alert, there is. Right now, you are stuck at playing three roles at once: visionary, operator, and leader, but you're spending 90% of your time in just one. That's why your firm feels like it's running you instead of the other way around. I'm Renata with the Firm Edit, and I have spent 20 years in the legal trenches before I figured out the secret sauce. You don't actually need to hustle harder. You need to stop being just a lawyer and start being a leader. In this recent webinar recording, I am going to walk you through exactly how to stop being a bottleneck in your own business. And I'm going to introduce you to something I call the firm framework. And I'm giving you practical plays that you can start using today to step into that CEO role. So if you're ready to stop working like you're still billing hours for someone else, grab a cup of coffee and your notes and keep watching. I want to help you maximize revenue, improve how you're running your law firm on the day-to-day so that you can feel at peace, in control, have freedom, all the things we're going to get into. Because let's not kid ourselves, running a business is not for the faint of heart. It's also not something that your law degree came with, right? A business plan. So today I want to take you through kind of the fundamentals of what it means to go from lawyer to leader and how that transition, that transformation is really essential to how you're going to grow your firm, how you're going to be successful as a law firm owner. I want to do a quick overview about our session today and just kind of what it's going to entail. In fact, actually, let's start from the beginning because I'm getting ahead of myself. I'm excited. You know, most of the law firm owners that I work with and that I have met over the course of my 20 years of practicing law, they're running themselves into the ground. Why? Because they're trying to chase a lot of things, from growth to clients, mostly clients, right? Billable hours. It's kind of just a never ending rat race. I'm sure you feel like that a lot of times. And so if you've ever found yourself working past midnight or answering client emails on vacation, telling your kids, mommy needs one more minute at the computer, right? Or wondering, maybe why your revenue feels stuck or cash flow isn't great at the end of the year, this is the place for you. This is the place where I want you to think about those things, ultimately talk about those things, right? We might not have time to do that today, but I want you to see that there are places and that I can be a resource for you. I want to talk about transforming you from an ordinary lawyer, someone who's got a JD and a license to practice, to an extraordinary leader. That's a business owner, a visionary. I want this to be a resource and something that you can learn from quickly and start to think about implementing. So I'm going to get into it pretty quickly, introduce myself and what I do. I'm going to give you a little bit of some core teachings and delve into some of the essentials on how to embrace your role as a leader and why that, honestly, in my opinion, is the most important first step in your success. And I want to define that for you because you have an idea of what that means. And there's a lot of definitions and a lot of different ideas. I know that you are success driven, you are goal oriented, you're type A performers, even if, some days you're type B or C, right? That's okay. The point is that you started a law firm. You are already an extraordinary attorney. You're an extraordinary human being that you took that risk. So I want to applaud that first and foremost. And I hope you remind yourself of that. So I want to really define what does that mean to step into your role as a leader and how that's really going to catapult you into, success, the success that you want. So let's get into it. Who am I? Why am I here? Why do you want to learn from me? So I'm Renata. I am an attorney. I've actually still maintained my license in Illinois. And I graduated in 2005 from the John Marshall Law School in Chicago. And for the most part, I practiced in litigation. In the last few years, I did transition to practicing as a family law attorney. And it was actually at that family law firm where I learned and really started to hone in my operational and organizational skills. I've been doing that my entire life as a business coach and as an entrepreneur, but that is where I really started to apply it as an attorney and for law firms. I've seen the back end of a business and also experienced billable hours, the grind of an attorney. I really wanted to help lawyers like you create firms that they really loved, because it's not a cookie cutter. It's not as simple as following a plan that someone else created for you, right? It really requires specificity. It requires personalization. And also, success isn't a one size fits all thing. Some measure success in terms of revenue, some measure in terms of time with their children, some with freedom, some want to take over the world, right? There's a lot of different types of success, and I want to align your business goals with your personal and life goals. What is your vision for your life? So let's talk about transitioning from lawyer to leader. Everyone thinks that in order to grow, you've got to hustle more. You got to bill more hours. You need more clients. You got to take on more stress. And the fact of the matter is, hustle does not scale. If you're the one doing it all, your firm is never going to grow past you. That's why a lot of talented attorneys, they ultimately kind of end up hitting the same revenue ceiling. And maybe you're finding that now. You end up, not really running a business. You're just running yourselves ragged. And that's what I want to unpack for you, is how to step out of those weeds and how to step out of that daily doing and really step into building a practice that's going to grow without burning you out, right? Shifting from lawyer to leader is really crucial to your success, even if you are the only person in that firm. You don't need a team to be a leader. You are a leader of your clients, your family, yourself, right? Your community. So you're going to have to embrace a new identity. If leader is not something that you're comfortable with yet, that's okay. We're going to figure out how to do that for you. So I've got this statistic here that 70% of lawyers feel overwhelmed by billable hours. I don't know. I think, to be honest, I think that that's way higher. I think it's like 99.9. I think that it's something that is, it's inevitable. And unfortunately, it's part of the profession, depending on what area of law you practice in. Accessible billable hours, however, they do limit your growth potential. If you're only looking at the number of clients you have, the number of hours you're billing, it's not sustainable for long-term growth. Now, I want to talk about really quickly the 3 critical roles of being a business owner. So first and foremost, you are the visionary, right? And a visionary is the role you take on where you're setting the long-term direction and you're inspiring your team towards shared goals. Again, if you're a solo, the team might be your spouse. It might be your kids, right? It might be yourself on a day-to-day basis to inspire you to keep showing up. But the point is that you have to have a vision for your firm. If you wanted to work, or when you worked for a firm, you didn't need a vision. You showed up to work, you were handed cases, right? And you were an operator. And that's where the majority of lawyers, I think, really spend their time. They're ensuring the daily operation is running smoothly. They're executing, a plan of some sort, but generally it's laid out by a visionary, not them, right? So this is where I talked about, as a lawyer, you've got a JD and a law license, and you're off to the races. You're able to practice law and to, be pretty darn good at it if you want. But if you stay in this operator role, this is where you're working a job. And if you only want to be in this role, that's totally okay. But just understand that this is very different than being a business owner, because it also requires that role leader, as I talked about. That's empowering a team, empowering yourself, fostering a positive culture, driving engagement so that you can really achieve your optimal performance and also optimal results. All 3 of these are critical. And if you're only spending time in this role as operator, this is going to be problematic. Now, I will say that the fact that you're taking this workshop already shows me that you are taking these roles seriously, or at least at some point you did, right? Because that's what got you out of practicing, for someone else or working for someone else. You had a vision. You saw a leader within you. You were a leader at your firm, or you just knew deep in your heart that you could do it better, that you wanted something different. Not operator. Now, in fairness, You likely can't do all of these all at once, right? I mean, particularly as a solo or even with a very small team. But it's about finding harmony and never putting any of these down for too long. We talk about spinning plates and juggling balls in the air. You have to understand that all three of these are very important. And so it's important to really allocate time to each of these roles and to cultivate each of these within yourself. You may not be the greatest visionary right now or a fantastic leader, but you can learn. You can learn or you can get help. You can invest in education or coaching, training. You can hire people, right? You need to supplement these skills or these components so that all three of them are present in your firm. Why does this even matter though? Well, I'll tell you why it matters. Because this may be what you're feeling and experiencing right now. You're feeling overwhelmed and burned out, maybe thinking about, I'm feeling stretched way too thin or too tired, or I don't have time to do this, right? Or that. You're not spending time with your family as much as you would like. There's also the fear of stagnation. How much has your firm grown? And again, what does that look like for you? Do you want to have more clients? Do you want to make more money with fewer clients? Stagnation, it's okay to say right now in this season of life, I'm where I need to be, but you want to think about what is the goal for you? What kind of legacy do you want to leave, whether that's for your family and your children, for yourself as a professional? There's also potentially anxiety from financial instability. I work with clients all the time who don't understand their cash flow or have dramatically inconsistent cash flow, which then come Q4, what we're entering right now, and they are stressed because the holidays are coming or a slower season is coming, and they don't know whether they're going to be able to make cash or to be able to make payroll, or whether they'll be able to pay themselves, or whether they'll be profitable. Maybe they've never been profitable, right? So relieving that anxiety is crucial. And finally, and this is last on the list, but I think it's maybe one of the most important, is this idea of feeling isolated, a lack of support, and losing your motivation. I mean, when you started your own firm, you were excited. I mean, you were nerve-sighted, right? Nervous and excited, but you were so excited to do this your way and to build something that had never been built before, or to work with clients that in your special way that you just didn't see happening in your community. You didn't do this just to have a job, right? And that lack of support or that isolation, that is only going to get worse unless you do something about it. There's other reasons that have nothing to do with your business, though, that is why this is also important. Stepping into this role from lawyer into leader. And that's because you want to have enthusiasm and energy for your life and work, right? You spend a lot of time there. You don't want that negative energy to flow into your family life or time with friends. You want to take advantage of business opportunities, again, to grow a legacy, perhaps to sell this firm at some point. You want to feel proud to say to people, especially your attorney friends, I run a law firm. That's exciting. That's fantastic. It's something to really be proud of. And you want to be fully present at home. And more. There's probably things definitely not on this list that I haven't covered. So this is why it's so important to think about what I'm going to share with you next. Because, okay, Renata, what happens next? What do I do? How am I supposed to? I know that I'm here and I want to be there. How do I get there? How do I transition from and transform from a lawyer into this leader? Well, I've created something that I call the FIRM framework, FIRM. The first part is freedom. The FIRM framework is really the way that you're going to achieve that harmony and balance so you can be all three of those things: the visionary, the operator, and the leader in your firm. So I said freedom. What does that mean? So that's creating operational clarity, systems that simplify everything, essentially, right? It's identifying what can you automate, what can you delegate, and what can you elevate. How do you actually get that freedom? It's by asking yourself the question every day, what am I doing today? If you're from my generation, we learned stop, drop, and roll, right? When I don't know, apparently our clothes were going to catch on fire. We were worried a lot about that. But you want to stop, drop, and roll. And I think this is a great way to kind of think about when I'm going to do something today, let me take any task and run it through this stop, drop, and roll framework. Okay. So the first is stop. Stop what doesn't need you. Stop doing things that you don't need to be doing. Stop is don't do the things that you don't need to be doing, that someone else can handle. Okay. Can you delegate it? Can you do something else? Can you put it on pause for a little bit, right? Drop is where you absolutely can eliminate this. Okay. So this is where you really want to just say, this is not what we do as a firm. This is not what my law firm does. We're eliminating this, right? A great case in point, a holiday card or some kind of postcard, right? To some people, that is a huge, point of client connection, and they want to do that. To other people, other lawyers, they don't love that, and they want to implement something else. Great. Drop what doesn't make a difference to you, what doesn't help your clients, what isn't, what you value. I think it's really important to eliminate anything that's unnecessary or distracting. So we've got stop, drop, and roll. Roll with what you own. Now, this is where when you're thinking about what am I doing today, right? You think about what do I own? What can I really, take responsibility for? Where am I in my wheelhouse? Or even if it's not in your wheelhouse, and I'll talk about this in a minute, I have to get this done. This requires me. I'm the lawyer. I have to, do this with this client. I have to go to court on this motion. I have to file this, right? What is it that you have to do? Own it and really own it. Work in your zone of genius as much as possible. Ultimately, right, though, you got to take ownership of everything in this firm. So this is kind of a catch-all, but if you're looking at what should you be doing today, really use this stop, drop, and roll method. I think it's super helpful. Okay. Let's talk about the I in firm influence. What does this mean? This means that you have a plan that helps you enhance your market presence and showcase your credibility. Now, this could be a lot of things. It could be attending events and speaking. It could be developing referral sources, building up a resource library of written content for your website. It's got to be specific to you, and it must be planned. Okay. Too many of us are taking these types of tasks and items on our to-do list, and we're just letting people handle it for us, but we're not involved in the development of a clear plan. Now, your potential clients are smart and savvy, and they have so many options to hire an attorney. You've got to think about what you're doing to influence them outside of that client intake call, outside of, the beautiful picture on your website. Just being an operator alone is not going to be enough. And you've got to share with them your vision and leadership. So the R of the firm framework, track and measure your results and your efforts. You got to do this by tracking data. Okay. And I know this is a tough one. If you're not a data nerd, that's not me either. And I have a hard time with this sometimes, but this is crucial. Remember, the game is you versus you. It's not about what other law firms are doing, right? That can be helpful to have a starting point or to see what others in your space are doing, but you've got to measure your efforts with customized data points. Don't take it personally. Don't get upset about it. It's just data. It's hard not to take personally. The fact of the matter is this baby is not going to grow and evolve and ultimately support you unless you really take care of it and allow it to thrive and grow. And that's got to be through tracking and measuring efforts. Okay. So I want you to commit to coming up with some KPIs, key performance indicators. They can be small, they can be minute. They don't have to be shared with anyone. You just need to know what it is that you're tracking and what's happening over the course of the day-to-day, week to week, so that you can make modifications. Finally, M of the firm framework is momentum. And this is all about building a plan and building a support team around you to maintain consistency, maintain your energy, and above all, your enthusiasm for this. I want to teach you something. I learned this kind of recently, and it has been a game changer for me. I've always struggled with momentum because we're always seeking motivation, right? And something that's really changed for me is I've changed my belief that motivation is actually totally made up. It's not real. And because it's made up, I can make it up again. I can make it up just like that. Okay. I can fabricate it on my own. I can fake it. I can create it. In fact, right now, like I'm going to do it for myself today, right? Motivation isn't something I'm waiting to strike me like luck or lightning. It's just me getting excited by momentum. And now, momentum, on the other hand, that is just continuous motion. And that I can do, that you can do. Now, of course, motion can be slow as molasses, right? And that's okay. It can be barely moving and you're still moving. But as long as you don't stop, you've got momentum. Now, that's great, right? Renata, awesome. I'm moving slow as molasses. I still cannot hype myself up to do the thing that I know I need to do, that I want to do. I want to introduce you to something called level it up and level it down. Okay, so what does this mean? So when you're faced with a task that you don't want to do, I'm going to use like running as an example, or going to the gym to work out. So today I had planned to work out and I'm like, it doesn't matter. I could skip a workout. It's only Wednesday. Is it that big of a deal? I don't want to go. Okay. I've been going. My momentum's kind of there, but I don't want to stop. Right. So first, I want you to take a level it up view. Take a 10,000-foot view and ask yourself, why does this matter in the long run? So with missing my workout today, what kind of impact is that going to make on my future health and my identity, maybe as a fit mom, right? I want my kids to see me as a mom who works out and is taking care of herself and her health and fitness. And I want to be able to run with them and play with them. So when I take that high level view, I think about the fact that, yeah, missing today is going to make an impact on my future health. I may not be able to run with them. Heck, my kids are, in middle school, almost high school now. In another 15, 20 years, hopefully longer, less, I'm not sure. I got to think about grandkids and I want to be chasing them in the park. I want to be playing with them, right? So when I take that level it up view, it absolutely matters if I don't do this thing right now. Now, next, I want to take a level it down approach. So here's where I want to get really granular and I want to think specifics. So where have I maybe seen this in action, or what's the kind of evidence that I really should go to the gym or go for my run? Well, yesterday I went and I really felt fantastic. I felt less stressed. I caught up with a friend there. And in fact, my kids, they see me working every other day. I want to keep that up. I know that they know that this is important to me and to them. Do you see how by doing this, I've given myself just a bigger why for why I should do the thing that I maybe don't want to do? And I think this is just such a cool way to sell it to yourself. And I've really found that this makes a huge difference for me to maintain that momentum, to, forget about motivation. I can create motivation. And I do that by maintaining my momentum. So I'd love to hear, what do you think about that? If you maybe want to try it, I just think that's kind of a cool way to help yourself. So here we go. The framework: freedom, influence, results, and momentum. I want it to be clear that it doesn't mean that all of these things are going to be in place at 100%. This is going to be a roller coaster. This is what business is all about, right? Sometimes, different parts of this are going to be stronger at other times. But ultimately, the goal is to build all of these out in such a way that it's supporting you and allowing your firm and you as a person to really thrive. Okay, so here's where you're at. You've got the firm framework. You know the 3 roles you need to balance. You've got stop, drop, and roll, and you understand that momentum beats motivation every single time. But now comes the hard part: actually doing something with this. Look, I get it. You're busy. You've got clients breathing down your neck and a to-do list that's kind of laughing at you at this point. But here's the truth: Nothing changes if nothing changes. And you didn't start this firm to stay stuck in the same patterns that aren't working. So here's what I want you to do. Pick one thing from everything that I just taught you, just one. Maybe it's running your task through my stop, drop, and roll method. Maybe it's finally tracking a KPI that you've been avoiding. Maybe it's blocking out time to actually think like a visionary more often instead of just reacting to whatever fire pops up. Stay there and build that momentum. Now, if you found this helpful, if any of this clicked for you, hit the subscribe button because I'm gonna drop more real talk, no BS strategies for law firm owners just like you who are done playing small. I wanna see you win and I'm gonna help you do it. Get out there and build the law firm that you wanted when you hung your shingle. You've got this. Thanks for being here. I'll see you on the next video.